Welcome to the Martinez Catalyst Plant, or MCP, where CRI and Shell work together to provide you with a safe, healthy, and environmentally responsible workplace. This orientation video will introduce you to our site and our operations. Upon arrival at the plant, you will be given one of these booklets that describe many of our basic HSSE requirements. This orientation video tracks this booklet by section. Please read it and refer to it often. If you have any questions, ask your supervisor or Shell CRI representative for clarification before you start work. Job-specific plant, health, safety, and environmental procedures will also be made available for review as needed. Section 1. Emergency Information. We've contracted with the Shell Martinez refinery across the street for our emergency response needs. To report an emergency, such as a fire, gas release, or ambulance request, dial 444 or 2222 on any plant phone. Give the plant name and location: Martinez Catalyst Plant, 10 Makoko Road. We are located within SMR Fire Zone 1. The zone number is printed on plant landline phones. Give the type and extent of the emergency. Advise that someone will meet the emergency responders at the main gate. Give your name. Stay on the phone until instructed to hang up. It is important to wait for the information to be repeated back to you. This ensures that your message has been received correctly. Please also notify the Shell CRI Operations Supervisor and other Martinez Catalyst Plant personnel. Every injury that occurs on the job, even minor ones, must be reported to your supervisor, the MCP Operations Supervisor, and the MCP HSSE Department. The Operations Supervisor's phone number is 8601. Do not attempt to move a badly injured person unless it is absolutely necessary to avoid further injury. Also follow universal precautions, including gloves if you're exposed to blood. The Contra Costa Community Warning System is a network of safety sirens and media links that warns and informs our community in the case of an emergency. Safety sirens will only be sounded in the event of a chemical accident or community emergency. When you hear a safety siren, go inside a building, seal the building, turn off ventilation systems, and turn on the radio for further information. The safety sirens are tested the first Wednesday of each month at 11 o'clock a.m. Persons will be advised when an emergency evacuation may be necessary. If an evacuation is announced, proceed to one of the designated meeting points. The primary evacuation route is out the main gate. Section 2. Fire Protection. Cigarette smoking is permitted only at one designated outdoor smoking pad location near the logistics office. Smoking inside vehicles, office buildings, or any other location on site is prohibited. Section 3. Process Safety Information. The Martinez Catalyst Plant is required to provide you with process safety information while you're in the plant. This information includes potential hazards, general safe work practices, and process overview information. This information is located within the basic HSSE requirements booklet. Our plant is composed of two processes, EO Catalyst and RM17. Section 4. Hazard Communication. The following are some general examples of potential chemical and physical hazards that may be present within the Martinez Catalyst Plant. Toxic materials. These are substances that may cause short or long-term health effects if an overexposure occurs. Examples include RC78H, silver oxide, and oxalic acid. Acutely hazardous materials. These are substances that may cause immediate short-term effects. One example is ethylene diamine, or EDA. Flammability or combustion hazards. Vapors from a hydrocarbon material will burn when combined with an outside source of ignition. Examples are propane and toluene. Many plant processes and equipment also operate at high temperature and/or vacuum. Asphyxiation hazards. These involve atmospheres that do not have enough oxygen to support life. Examples include nitrogen-blanketed tanks and vessels. Electric shock. This could occur due to work on or contact with various electrical components. Other physical hazards. Examples include burns, slips, trips and falls, loud noise, various ergonomic conditions, heat stress, and ionizing radiation. Safety data sheets, or SDSs, for chemical substances are available online or from your Shell CRI representative. Chemical hazard identification tables, or CHITs, are available in green boxes within operation areas. CHITs tell you about specific hazardous materials inside particular pieces of equipment, such as tanks. Before a piece of equipment leaves the operating unit, it must first be cleaned. A HAZCOM tag is then attached to include specific information about that piece of equipment, what materials are contained, and the nature of any potential health and safety hazards. Under Proposition 65, there may be chemicals present known to the state of California to cause cancer or reproductive effects. Examples of substances on the cancer list include asbestos, fiberglass, and tobacco smoke. Examples of chemicals on the reproductive list include lead, toluene, and tobacco smoke. A more complete list of these chemicals is available on selected MCP bulletin boards. There are certain buildings in the plant that have asbestos-containing materials, including transite, pipe insulation, vessel insulation, old floor tiles, and old mastics and coatings. A complete list is available on select MCP bulletin boards. Insulation such as asbestos requires special attention that can only be done by a trained insulator. Areas where asbestos work is to be performed are restricted to prevent entry of unauthorized personnel. Any work involving the removal of large quantities of asbestos insulation must be reported to the Air District and Cal OSHA at least 2 weeks in advance. Section 5. Environmental protection. Each individual working in the plant must comply with environmental requirements. One example is MCP permitted air emissions, including various additional conditions. The MCP permit is posted on select bulletin boards. Any unusual visual or other emissions to the atmosphere or odors must be reported to operations and HSSE immediately. All waste must be properly collected, contained, labeled, and disposed of off-site. Hazardous waste is normally disposed of off-site within 90 days after generation. All hazardous waste shipments off-site must be accompanied by a hazardous waste manifest signed by a trained Shell CRI employee and transported by an approved carrier. All persons working in the plant are expected to keep a lookout for and to help prevent spills or leaks. If a spill, leak, or other loss of primary containment or LOPC should occur, take all possible measures to safely stop, contain, clean up, and report the spill. The discharge of any chemical to the process sewer without the prior knowledge or approval of the Shell Martinez refinery effluent treatment operator is prohibited. Section 6. Safe work permits. The proper application of safe work permit and energy isolation procedures for maintenance work are critical and mandatory. An operations representative usually issues the permit for the following types of work. Departmental. This is the least restrictive permit. It is issued when anyone not directly assigned to the operation of a unit performs work which may affect the safety of the process or the people working there. Low energy. This permit is issued for work in a classified area that does not require an open flame, such as electric power tools. For a complete list, please refer to the MCP's Safe Work Permit procedure. Hot work. This permit is issued for work such as welding, cutting with a torch, burning, grinding, and other types of work which by their nature produce a flame or spark. A dedicated fire watch and a proper fire extinguisher or hose are required. Confined space. This permit is issued prior to partial or complete entry to permit required confined spaces such as tanks, vessels, sumps, sewers, and other enclosures. If the confined space is unoccupied for more than 90 minutes, it must be retested prior to re-entry, and the results and the time of the test recorded on the permit. Until revoked, and area permits can also be issued for ongoing low-risk situations. Permits are valid only on the date and during the hours specified on the permit. Work must begin within 90 minutes of issuance of the permit. Work can be stopped upon request of anyone at any time. Please notify the permit issuer immediately if you suspect or discover a new hazard. No permit is valid for more than 24 hours. Permits must be signed off to indicate work is complete or incomplete at the end of the day or conclusion of the work. The job site must also be cleaned up. Energy isolation procedures must be followed when work is to be performed on electrically driven or non-electrically driven equipment. Warning tags and lock systems must be installed on valves and other applicable equipment before beginning work. Blind list and isolation lists must be up to date and available as applicable. Locks are color-coded and storage stations are available. Old tags need to be thrown away. Some safety equipment may require a permit or have restricted use on site. One example is non-safety knives. Section 7. Personal protective equipment. Your Shell CRI host or the MCP HSSE department can help identify what personal protective equipment or PPE is needed for specific tasks you will perform. Here are several of the more common requirements. All persons working in the operating areas in the plant must wear long-sleeve flame retardant clothing, FRCs. Personnel in laboratories and casual visitors may wear flame retardant smocks. Hard hats with goggles attached, safety glasses, and safety shoes with notched heels are required to be worn at all times within operating areas of the plant. No canvas shoes are allowed. Leather or similar gloves should be used for hand protection while performing various physical tasks such as climbing ladders, moving drums, palletizing containers, taking the garbage out, handling sharp objects, packing catalyst, or just walking in the plant. The use of leather gloves is forbidden when handling liquid process and maintenance chemicals, as chemical-resistant gloves are required. Contaminated gloves must be disposed of properly into the clearly marked hazardous waste drums. Do not contaminate yourself or others with your own safety equipment. Respirators can be effective in protecting you from inhalation of hazardous amounts of airborne contaminants. Before you can use a respirator, you must have a medical clearance and be fit tested and trained. Facial hair that interferes with the respirator seal is not allowed. Make sure you use the right respirator for the job. Respiratory protection requirements will be specified in operating instructions, HSSE procedure, and safe work permits. Prolonged exposure to excessive noise can cause permanent hearing loss. Such a loss will often be in an advanced stage before it is recognized. To protect people from exposure to excessive noise, high noise areas have been identified by orange painted lines and/or signs in the work area. These identifiers denote normal operations only. Special operations may require additional hearing protection. Pay attention to warning markings and signs. For example, note the yellow goggles-related markings. Section 8. Safety equipment. Safety showers and eye wash units are located throughout the plant and are clearly marked through the use of signs and other means. The area around the safety showers and eye washes must be kept clear. You should locate one near your job site and test it for proper operation before beginning the job. If a person is sprayed with a chemical, personnel in the area should assist in directing the individual to the nearest safety shower or eye wash unit. All clothing saturated with chemicals should be removed as soon as possible to prevent prolonged skin contact. Exposed individuals should be rinsed at the scene for at least 15 minutes, and that person should then be transported for further first aid or medical treatment as necessary. Utility stations are specifically marked as such, including non-potable water outlets. Only potable domestic water is fit to drink. Don't use cooling, fire, or utility water for drinking or washing. Color-coded scaffolding safety tags are critical. When working on a platform, it must be built to Cal/OSHA standards, and sometimes the tag will indicate that 100% tie-off is required. Always check the scaffold tag before climbing. Make sure to climb on the ladder, not the braces. Do not change scaffold members unless authorized. Please also note the red or yellow barrier tape with associated hazard information tags that direct you to avoid certain work areas and why. Section 9. Driving and parking. Pedestrians have the right-of-way at all times within MCP, and bicycle riders and vehicles must yield. Everyone must watch out for vehicle, forklift, and other traffic. Every person who operates a motor vehicle in the plant shall abide by all traffic requirements and shall have in his or her possession a valid driver's license and proof of insurance. Before operating a company vehicle, it is the driver's responsibility to ensure that the tires, lights, brakes, horn, rear view mirrors, and steering apparatus are in good condition, and the windshield and windows are clean and unobstructed. A personal inspection of these items may reveal a deficiency and prevent an accident. Cell phone use, including hands-free, is not allowed while driving on MCP property or within a company vehicle anywhere. The same goes for radio use that is not part of an emergency response. The maximum speed limit within the catalyst plant is 15 miles per hour. Reduced speeds are required in congested areas, which are posted accordingly. All passengers riding in vehicles shall be properly seated and seatbelts shall be fastened. The driver of the vehicle shall see that all passengers comply with these rules before the vehicle is moved. Watch out for fork trucks that frequently move materials throughout the plant. When using a fork truck, leave keys in the ignition when parked and set the emergency brake. Do not block emergency, fire, or other emergency equipment. Turn the forklift off prior to getting off the vehicle. Motor vehicles must never be driven into a process area or tank levee without first checking the area for combustibles and obtaining a departmental permit. Motorcycles may only be parked in the outer employee parking lot or at the side of the administration building. Section 10. Housekeeping. Good housekeeping is essential, and every worker should consider it their responsibility to cooperate in maintaining the grounds, equipment, and buildings in their work location. Part of each person's job is to clean out materials and debris after each task, and no job is completed until this has been done. This is not only important to safety, but it also makes the catalyst plant a pleasant place to work. Keep stairways, walkways, aisles, and work platforms clean and unobstructed. Do not leave tools or other objects on overhead platforms, walkways, stairways, pipe racks, and other elevated surfaces. Use the marked trash can for disposal of non-hazardous materials, and do not put hazardous or designated waste in sanitary trash containers. Section 11. Miscellaneous safety information. Persons entering the plant must show proper identification and must consent to inspection of yourself, your vehicle, and any material or equipment in your possession. TWIC cards are generally required. Visitors check in with an MCP contact and remain accounted for throughout their stay. The use of photographic equipment, including video, requires approval and sometimes a safe work permit. Use of cell phones and other personal electronics are restricted in operating areas of the plant. The use, possession, distribution, sale, or transfer of alcohol or illegal drugs in the workplace is prohibited, as is possession of dangerous or unauthorized materials. Eating is not allowed within operating areas of the plant. Section 12. Security. Acts of sabotage can place the safety of everyone at the site in jeopardy. Telephone threats, strange objects, or packages in unusual locations, or the presence of unidentified persons in unauthorized locations should be reported immediately. If you have information about possible terrorist activities or to report any suspicious activity, talk with your supervisor. Life-saving rules. Our 12 life-saving rules set out clear and simple do's and don'ts, covering activities with the highest potential for serious injury or death if safety rules are broken. If you choose not to comply with these life-saving rules as applicable, you choose not to work for any Shell facility, including this one. If at any time you are uncertain of a life-saving rule, stop and talk with a CRI Shell representative. The 12 life-saving rules are as follows. 1. Work with a valid work permit where required. 2. Conduct gas tests when required. 3. Verify isolation before work begins and use the specified life-protecting equipment. 4. Obtain authorization before entering a confined space. 5. Obtain authorization before overriding or disabling safety-critical equipment. 6. Protect yourself against a fall when working at a height. Shell requires 100% fall protection at or above 6 feet. Cal OSHA has similar requirements at 4 feet. 7. Do not walk under a suspended load. 8. Do not smoke outside designated smoking areas. 9. No alcohol or drugs while working or driving. 10. While driving, do not use your phone and do not exceed speed limits. 11. Wear your seatbelt. 12. Follow prescribed journey management plan. Conclusion. The requirements that we have just discussed are for your safety and the safety of others. They are in place because of past experiences at this and other locations across the nation. Don't assume anything that might involve risk. If you're in doubt or have any question, ask your supervisor or a Shell CRI representative. Martinez Catalyst Plant representatives reserve the right to stop work if and when health and safety requirements are being violated. We welcome you, but we insist on your using safe work practices and complying with the law. Safety is important to us, and it should be to you.